Welcome back, everybody, to the channel. Of course, it's me, Alejandro Mendoza, or the Nerd Chicano, as I like to go by sometimes, every now and then, right? You already know. You're kind of thinking, whoa, this is a recorded video, what's going on? Usually, content before this was more live stream. Between the Frames was on Mondays, and Wednesdays was the Nerd Chicano Live. And then after a certain period of time, content kind of stopped here, and that's because I became employed. And I didn't have the chance to actually do my morning content that I like to do. And now I find myself in the position that I'm not employed. So I get to finally make some stuff again for you all. And that's why I'm here to kind of introduce you all to something. Well, not introduce you to something, because this is, once again, Between the Frames. And this is still going to be another episode of Between the Frames. But, so Between the Frames will be recorded, and it's going to be up every week, whereas the Nerd Chicano Live will still be a live stream thing, but once I'm able to get stuff settled and get guests on, I will be doing that for you all again. But in the meantime, we are still here because we are still going through the Essential Fellini set from Criterion, and let's get into some Between the Frames. So, last time on Between the Frames, we were discussing Nights of Cabiria. And, of course, if you had seen that video, you all know how much I love that film, and I thought that film was excellent. But there is something, when discussing Fellini, you do have to finally get to this film. And I'm talking about the monumental achievement that is La Dolce Vita. La Dolce Vita was released in 1960, and it is Federico Fellini's saving grace. Because without this film, the career of Federico Fellini was not, well, not possible. It probably would not exist, because Federico Fellini was at the verge of pretty much losing his career. If this film was not the monumental success that it was, and if it hadn't been as grand as it was, chances are that Fellini's career was done. Fellini's career was over. And thankfully, we did not see that, because La Dolce Vita was a hit. It won the Palme d'Or, and it also would go on to become very successful. And there would also be a controversy following it because of a scene at the end where people thought there was a striptease, but there was no striptease, whatnot. But La Dolce Vita soared, and so did Federico Fellini's career. And then the film after this one, 8½, would launch him into the monumental success and cement him as one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. Federico Fellini's La Dolce Vita is incredible. This is my third time watching this. I watched this for the first time in one of my film classes with the incredible Dr. Carrera. And of course, I always have to shout out his wonderful book, Fellini's Eternal Rome, Christianity and Paganism in the Films of Federico Fellini. An incredible book, and the chapter on this one is beautiful as well, and it gives some really good insight into La Dolce Vita and really Marcello's journey in this film. This film is incredible. It's beautifully written. It is incredibly directed. I love the whole episodic nature of the film, and I think that this is one that holds up for me. And at surface level, you would think, oh, this film is just concentrating on the bourgeoisie, and it's really nothing grand. But really, it's not exactly that. You know, I think La Dolce Vita works on a level where it tries to be against what it's trying to show. It shows the fall of a man who desperately wants to be at that high level of society and live this sweet life, and really think that he can be like the top fashion models and like these great actors who are around him most of the time. Whereas he's just another journalist to them. And when he reaches there, he finally becomes everything that he pretty much hated. And the film never really, it shows really what it is, the glitz and the glamour, but it doesn't really glamorize it to me. I think the film really shows how disgusting this high society life is, and how there really is no sense of humanity left in some of them. And some of them are, you know, we have the incredible Anita Ekberg in this film playing a Swedish actress who is incredible, and she's very much the goddess that is the higher level of Marcello, where Marcello really tries to grab her and, you know, caress her and be with her. But he is so far detached from everything that he really can't reach up to that status. And then at the end, when he does reach that status, he only ends up becoming the abusive partner that Anita Ekberg's character is with. Of course, Marcello is incredibly performed by Marcello Mastroianni, who would end up going on to work with Fellini on so many other work. But of course, Marcello Mastroianni is one of the greatest actors of all time and one of the best collaborators of Fellini. Now, of course, the restoration. This is a new restoration according to the information on the set. The one we had before, what I'm not gonna say was a bad restoration, but it wasn't great. It still looked wonderful because, of course, this is done in Cinescope. Cinescope is not going to look bad. Cinescope is beautiful, and I think that the restoration here was good, but there's not much of a difference between the last restoration and the one we have right now from this set. Of course, I think I'm going to probably go into that with 8.5 as well. But before, you still, on these black and white films, Knights of Cabiria had a really good restoration. La Strada had a really good restoration. But some of these early films are really hard to kind of restore because they're still really, they're old. And, you can't really restore them to the extent that you want to without, sacrificing something in the process. Whereas La Dolce Vita always looked good. It always looked good. And here you can tell that they cleaned it up, they removed some blemishes and, some damage, but it still very much holds up, and it's still a really good restoration. Nothing wrong with it at all. I think that it's still a good restoration. It's not the best one from this set, so take that with what you will. The audio is still very clear. I really like the audio. I love the music by Nino Rota, of course. There's no bad score in a Fellini film. If he is working with Nino Rota, you expect these scores to be incredible. And of course, he does not disappoint in La Dolce Vita. And there is a lot of supplements here that I still need to get to. But of course, I really do like this film, and I did really enjoy being able to get to this one. But, the more I rewatch it, the more I still cement it as a grand film. But, at one point, this was my favorite Federico Fellini film. But after, careful consideration and watching more of Federico's films, I think that this movie, starts to go down, but it's still in that high top 5 for me, because I think that this film will always be special to me, because it's really what introduced me to Federico Fellini. And because of him, because of this movie, I was introduced to one of my favorite directors of all time. So, of course, that is my review of La Dolce Vita on this episode of Between the Frames. Of course, if you want to stay up to date with all the things that I do on social media and all the things that I do on my podcast, The Nerdcore, you can always follow me at The Nerd Chicano on both Instagram and Twitter. And of course, I'm on Letterboxd as well as The Nerd Chicano. And you can find The Nerdcore at The Nerdcore on Instagram and on Letterboxd. On Twitter, we're under The Nerdcore _. And of course, we are on YouTube and Twitch under The Nerdcore. Go and check that out. And of course, the Cinema Condition podcast as well. It has its own feed. Go to anchor.fm/cinemacondition. I do a lot of wonderful stuff, and I'm glad to finally be back here to do some content for you all. But of course, it's going to take a little bit of a restructuring here, because I am moving out, in the process of moving out. So bear with me. I'm going to try to get some videos here and there, but we're still making our way through this set from Fellini, and I will have more videos coming in, like some collection updates, because I am a big collector. I will have film essays. I will have some reviews here and there. I like doing them in here on Between the Frames, where I specifically look at specific films, and I don't have to do one for like everything that I watch. That's more so what I leave the Nerdcore for, and this is where I can concentrate on other stuff. But of course, it has been a wonderful time, and we will see you all on the next episode of Between the Frames, where we discuss his next film, 8.5. See you all later. And of course, I don't have an outro. I'm barely back, guys. So just see you guys. Enjoy some good movies and relish in the love of cinema.